All right, let's dive into some financial literacy. We got a ton of requests to unpack Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
Yeah, it's a classic for a reason.
for sure. And for this deep dive, we're using a YouTube audiobook summary to guide us. But just a heads up.
A summary is never going to capture all the nuances of a full book.
Exactly. So if any of this really sparks your interest,
Definitely check out the original.
so what's the big deal with Rich Dad, Poor Dad anyway? Well, it's not just about getting rich quick.
Not at all.
It's more about, like, shifting your whole mindset about money, you know?
Right. Understanding the principles behind wealth building.
Exactly. And hopefully you'll walk away from this with, like, some practical stuff you can actually use.
I think so. You'll find Kiyosaki's approach really interesting. He uses his own life as a case study, comparing what he learned from his rich dad, his best friend's father, with the more traditional views of his own dad.
Who he calls Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Okay, so right off the bat, he throws this idea at you. The rich don't work for money, they make money work for them. And he tells this story about working for his rich dad as a kid for, like, what was it, 10 cents an hour?
Yeah, something like that.
No, that's not about cheap labor, right?
No, definitely not. It's about perspective. Rich Dad wanted Kiyosaki to experience that feeling of being stuck in a job where you can only earn so much no matter how hard you work.
Oh, I see. So it's about, like, hitting that ceiling. You're trading your time for money, but there's a limit.
Exactly.
And it's that feeling of, like, running on a hamster wheel, working hard, but not really getting ahead financially.
Yeah. Kiyosaki argues that's a classic symptom of working for money instead of having money work for you.
Okay, so how do you flip that? How do you get off the hamster wheel?
Well, that's where the concept of assets versus liabilities comes in. Think of it this way. An asset puts money in your pocket.
Like a rental property that brings in rent every month.
Exactly. A liability, on the other hand, takes money out of your pocket.
Like that new car you just had to have.
Could be, yeah. Or that fancy coffee habit that adds up over time. Rich Dad actually drew simple diagrams for young Kiyosaki to illustrate this, making it super clear which things were helping him build wealth and which were draining his resources.
So like a visual roadmap for your money, huh?
Exactly.
So you can see at a glance what's working for you and what's working against you. Okay, I'm starting to see the picture here. But why is financial literacy so important?
Well, it's not just about how much money you earn.
It's what you do with it.
Exactly. It's about how much you keep, and even more importantly, how you make that money work for you.
And Kiyosaki really drives this point home with those examples of lottery winners and pro athletes who end up broke, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these people are making millions and still.
It's a reminder that even a huge windfall won't guarantee financial security if you don't know how to manage it.
It's like they say, more money, more problems.
Well, in some cases, yeah.
But that's where financial literacy comes in.
Exactly. It's the real key to building lasting wealth. It's easy to think if I just made more, all my problems would be solved.
Yeah, I've definitely been there.
But Kiyosaki is saying, nope, that's not how it works.
You got to know how to manage the money you have.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm getting it. So now let's talk about this whole minding your own business thing. What did Rich Dad mean by that? Was he saying everyone needs to become an entrepreneur?
He wasn't necessarily saying quit your job tomorrow. It was more about building what he calls your asset column.
Those things that generate income.
Yeah, those income-generating assets outside of your regular paycheck.
Okay, I see. So it's like creating multiple streams of income. So you're not just relying on your job.
Exactly.
He uses the example of McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
Saying that it's not just about selling burgers.
It's about the real estate, the land under those golden arches. That's where the real wealth is.
Ah, so it's about owning assets that appreciate in value and generate income even when you're not working.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's bring this back to our listeners. What are some assets that you could potentially build, even while you're working a 9-to-5?
Well, they're starting a side hustle, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Like so many people are doing that now.
Or maybe invest in a rental property.
Or even just explore dividend-paying stocks.
There are options out there.
Even if they seem small at first, right?
Right.
Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. Kiyosaki says, the rich invent money. I mean, how is that even possible? Are we talking about, like, printing money in your basement?
No, not quite. He's talking about seeing opportunities that other people miss.
Ah, so it's about using your financial smarts to create wealth, not just waiting for it to fall into your lap.
Exactly. It's about being proactive.
He gives that example of finding a house that's being sold way below market value, You buy it, fix it up a bit, and then quickly sell it for a profit.
Exactly. It's about seeing those hidden gems that everyone else is overlooking.
Okay, so it's about having the knowledge and the courage to act, right?
Absolutely. And here's the thing. Kiyosaki argues that most people aren't trained to even see these opportunities.
It's like they're walking right past them.
They might not have the financial knowledge to recognize the potential or the courage to take the risk. It's like they're walking past buried treasure without realizing it.
Oh, wow. So are you willing to develop that skill?
That's the question we should all be asking ourselves, right?
Okay, now let's talk about this idea. Work to learn, not just for a paycheck. I know Kiyosaki took jobs that paid less in the short term because he saw them as a chance to gain valuable skills.
Exactly. He was playing the long game.
Rich Dad encouraged him to focus on acquiring knowledge and experience, even if it meant making less money initially.
Right. It's about investing in your future earning potential.
Become a master of your craft.
Exactly.
So think about your current job. Are you gaining valuable skills there?
Yeah. What are you learning?
What could you be learning that would make you more valuable in the marketplace?
Maybe it's time to take that online course or go to that industry conference. Think about those skills that could boost your earning potential down the line.
Okay, so we've talked about assets, liabilities, minding your own business, and even inventing money. But let's be real, it's not always easy.
Yeah, for sure.
Kiyosaki talks about 5 major obstacles that can get in the way.
Fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits.
Oh, and arrogance too.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget arrogance.
Right. Okay, these can be internal or external roadblocks, but they can definitely derail your efforts.
You really can.
So let's dive a little deeper into fear.
Good place to start. It's a big one.
Kiyosaki uses this really interesting analogy. He talks about Texans and their attitude towards risk.
I like this one.
They're known for going big, being bold, and not being afraid to lose.
They have that go for it mentality.
Yeah, and he believed that can be applied to finance as well.
It's not about being reckless. It's about understanding that fear is natural.
It's part of the process, but it shouldn't stop you. So what's your biggest fear when it comes to money? Is it losing it? Making the wrong decision?
How can you acknowledge that fear and manage it?
So it doesn't hold you back.
Right.
So Kiyosaki's message seems to be, embrace the briar patch. Don't let fear call the shots. Take those calculated risks.
I like that.
Okay, we've covered a lot here. Assets and liabilities, minding your own business, even inventing money. What are some of the key takeaways so far?
Well, I'd say understanding the difference between assets and liabilities is huge.
Yeah, that's foundational, right?
And minding your own business, creating those multiple streams of income that's essential for financial independence.
And don't be afraid to challenge conventional wisdom. Develop your financial intelligence so you can spot those opportunities that others miss.
That's right. Kiyosaki believes that financial education is essential for breaking free from the rat race and achieving true freedom.
Now let's unpack another idea that often gets people talking, shall we?
Oh, you mean the one about a house being a liability?
Exactly. That one tends to spark some debate because, let's face it, most people see their house as their biggest asset.
It makes sense on the surface. It's a tangible thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's valuable.
Right. But Kiyosaki flips that on its head. He says for most people, their house is actually a liability.
Because it takes money out of your pocket constantly.
You've got your mortgage payments, property taxes, maintenance costs, insurance. It all adds up.
He even points out that most people never truly own their homes. They're constantly paying off that mortgage, sometimes for like 30 years.
And if you can't afford those payments, you risk losing it.
Remember the housing crisis.
A lot of people learn that lesson the hard way.
Definitely.
But now, Kiyosaki isn't saying don't buy a house. He's just saying look at it from a different angle.
Think about the opportunity cost. What could you do with that money if it wasn't tied up in a house?
Could you be building an investment portfolio? Generating passive income from rental properties?
It's about understanding that while a house provides shelter, it might not be the best way to build wealth, especially if it's draining your resources and preventing you from investing in other things that could generate income.
It's about being smart with your money, right?
Yeah.
He talks about how the rich tend to buy luxuries last, while the poor and middle class often buy them first.
It's a matter of discipline.
Prioritizing your asset column over immediate gratification.
Exactly.
He uses another powerful example to illustrate this.
Ray Kroc and McDonald's, right?
Yes. Kroc was brilliant, not just because of the burgers.
He understood the real value was in the real estate.
Owning the land under all those McDonald's franchises.
Yeah.
That was the key to building long-term wealth.
It's classic minding your own business.
building an empire based on income-generating assets,
Thinking beyond the obvious.
seeing the bigger picture. Okay, so how can we apply that to our own lives? I mean, we can't all go out and buy prime real estate like Ray Kroc.
True, but the principle is the same. What assets can you acquire that will generate income even while you're working your 9 to 5?
Could be rental properties, a side hustle, dividend stocks, anything that creates that passive income stream, right?
Exactly. And that brings us back to that idea that seemed so out there at first.
The rich invent money.
Yeah.
But again, it's not about some magical money-making machine.
It's about understanding how money works, recognizing those opportunities others miss, and then having the guts to go for it.
He keeps coming back to that example of buying a house at a low price and flipping it for a profit.
Right. He emphasizes taking calculated risks. Remember that Texan attitude, stepping outside your comfort zone, seizing those opportunities when they pop up.
And that ties into working to learn, not just for a paycheck. Kiyosaki himself took those lower-paying jobs for the learning experience.
Yeah, playing the long game.
Investing in yourself, learning new skills, knowing your earning potential will grow over time. He's basically saying, become a lifelong student of finance.
Be curious. Always be learning, always looking for ways to boost your financial IQ.
I like that. But knowledge isn't everything.
No, you got to put it into action. And that's where those 5 obstacles come in.
Fear, cynicism, laziness,
Bad habits, arrogance.
those sneaky little saboteurs, right?
They can really hold you back.
Let's dig into fear a bit more. I think that's the one that trips most people up.
Yeah, it can be paralyzing.
Kiyosaki uses that analogy of the briar patch, you know, from the Brer Rabbit story.
Oh, yeah.
Most people avoid the briar patch because it's prickly and uncomfortable.
But it's the path to freedom.
He's saying you got to confront your fears, even the fear of losing money, if you want to grow. He also says fear and greed can be motivators.
If you use them to your advantage.
So it's about understanding your emotions and using them wisely instead of letting them control you,
Right. And then there's cynicism.
which can be just as damaging. Kiyosaki talks about the difference between critics and analysts.
Oh, I like this one.
Critics only see the negative,
They're the ones who say it can't be done.
while analysts, they look for opportunities, even in tough situations.
They see the potential.
He talks about how people often dismiss opportunities, like real estate investing, because they focus on the downsides. They'll say things like, I don't want to deal with fixing toilets, and they miss out on the potential gains.
They let fear and doubt cloud their judgment.
It's all about perspective, right? Shifting your focus from problems to solutions, from limitations to possibilities.
Absolutely.
And there's laziness. And it's not just physical laziness. It's about mental laziness, too.
The unwillingness to learn and grow.
To really put in the effort to build your financial intelligence.
It's easy to stay in your comfort zone, do what you've always done, even if it's not working.
But that's not how you achieve financial freedom, right?
Not at all.
Kiyosaki also talks about bad habits, specifically the habit of paying yourself last.
Oh, this is such a common one.
We pay all our bills and expenses first, and then whatever's left over goes to savings or investments, if there's anything left at all.
Which there often isn't.
Right. And Kiyosaki says, flip that script. Pay yourself first, even if it's just a little bit. Build that habit of putting your financial well-being first.
He even suggests using the pressure of those unpaid bills as motivation to find new ways to make money.
It's a bold approach.
It is.
But it shows his belief in the power of resourcefulness.
And creative problem solving.
And finally, we have to address the obstacle of arrogance. We all have to be careful not to let success go to our heads.
So true.
Because, as Kiyosaki says, arrogance often masks ignorance. It's when we think we know it all, so we stop learning and growing.
And that can be a recipe for disaster.
Especially in the world of finance, where things are always changing.
Right.
So he encourages us to stay humble, keep learning, and be open to new ideas. Okay, so we've explored those 5 obstacles.
Now, how do we get started on the path to financial freedom?
Well, Kiyosaki has 10 steps. Step 1, he says, is to stop doing what you're doing.
Sounds simple, but it's probably a big step for a lot of people.
It's about taking a good, hard look at your financial situation and being willing to change.
Break free from that rat race mentality, Work for money, spend it all. Work more to earn more, spend it all again.
Step 2, figure out why you want to be rich.
Your why is your strongest motivator, he says.
It's about having a clear purpose for your financial future.
And write it down. Make those goals real and tangible.
Step 3, Choose your heroes carefully.
He's not talking about literal heroes.
Right. It's about finding mentors and role models, people who have already achieved the kind of financial success you want.
Surround yourself with people who inspire you and can teach you valuable lessons.
Step 4 is about finding a system that works. Master a formula and then learn a new one.
Like a baker following a recipe.
Exactly. It could be real estate investing, starting a business, or trading stocks, whatever works for you.
But then keep learning. Always be growing your skill set.
And step 5 is the foundation of his whole philosophy. Pay yourself first.
Make it a habit.
Put your financial well-being front and center.
Exactly.
Step 6 might sound a little counterintuitive. Pay your brokers well.
He's a big believer in investing in expert advice.
He sees it as a partnership. Good brokers can save you time and help you make more money in the long run.
Leverage their knowledge and experience.
Step 7 is where things can get a little controversial. Be an Indian giver, he says. Now, we're going to be careful with this one.
Yes, very important.
We want to avoid any misinterpretations. He is not advocating for dishonesty.
What he means is be smart about your investments. Get your money back as quickly as possible.
Understand the concept of return on investment. Minimize your risk.
Be strategic.
Step 8. Use assets to buy luxuries. Again, delaying gratification, building that asset column first.
Enjoy the finer things, but only after your assets are generating enough income to cover those costs.
Step 9 is all about history. Learn from the success and the failures of others.
Study the patterns of wealth creation. Avoid the common pitfalls.
And finally, step 10 is the most important. Take action. That's where the rubber meets the road. All the knowledge in the world won't help you if you don't put it into practice.
He's saying even small steps taken consistently can lead to big gains over time.
It's about having the courage to start, learn from your mistakes, and keep moving forward.
Don't be afraid to fail.
He reminds us that most people are more afraid of losing than they are excited about winning.
But that fear can be paralyzing.
So shift your mindset. Be willing to take calculated risks.
Don't let fear hold you back.
Think big, he says. Don't limit yourself, and surround yourself with the right people.
Mentors, advisors, partners, people who can see those opportunities you might miss.
He talks about mastering your emotions, not letting fear and greed run the show.
Develop that mental toughness, that financial discipline. Make clear-headed decisions, even when the stakes are high.
And at the end of the day, he reminds us that money is just an idea.
If you want more, change your thinking.
Develop your financial IQ. Learn to make money work for you. And that leads us to another key concept from Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
The 3 different types of income.
Right. Break it down for us. What are those 3 types?
There's ordinary earned income, portfolio income, and passive income.
And the goal is to shift from earned income to passive or portfolio income as quickly as possible. Right?
That's where the real wealth is built.
In those income streams that work for you, even when you're not working.
Exactly. And he even challenges this whole idea of job security, arguing that relying on a single paycheck can be risky.
Especially these days.
Create multiple income streams. Build that asset column. Create your own security.
Take control of your financial destiny. So there you have it, a deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We've covered a lot, from assets and liabilities to those 5 obstacles.
And we've just scratched the surface.
If this sparked your interest, definitely check out the full book.
There's so much more to explore.
What resonated most with you? Were there points you disagreed with?
Yeah, share your thoughts.
Head to our social media and join the conversation.
And here's one last thought to ponder. Kiyosaki says schools don't teach us real-world financial skills.
What if there was a different kind of education?
One that focused on building wealth and achieving financial freedom.
Food for thought.
Makes you think, doesn't it? How much of what we've been taught about money is actually, well, wrong? Kiyosaki really turns things upside down.
He's a real disruptor.
Yeah.
And speaking of disrupting things, let's get back to one of his most controversial statements.
You mean the rich don't work for money?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Now, before anyone thinks he's advocating for, a life of just sitting back and doing nothing.
Well, he definitely doesn't mean that.
Let's be clear about what he actually means.
It's about building those systems that generate income.
Even when you're not clocking in.
Exactly. So your money is working for you, not the other way around.
So it's about shifting your mindset from employee to entrepreneur. He uses his own life as an example, showing how he built businesses and investments that generate passive income.
He talks about financial intelligence, that ability to understand money and how to make it work for you, not just earning a paycheck.
It's about being proactive, right? Taking control. So let's revisit those 5 obstacles to wealth. We've got to figure out how to overcome them.
Starting with fear.
Yeah, fear seems to be a big theme for Kiyosaki.
Makes sense, right? Fear can really stop you in your tracks.
He says it often comes from a lack of understanding.
The more you learn about money and finance, the less you have to be afraid of.
So educate yourself, face those fears head on.
Like they say, feel the fear and do it anyway.
I love that.
Yeah.
But he also points out that fear and greed are 2 sides of the same coin.
Both can lead to some bad decisions.
You need to find that sweet spot where you're taking smart risks but not being reckless.
Right, being informed, strategic, and emotionally intelligent with your money.
Okay, what about cynicism? How do we deal with that?
Cynicism is that voice that says, it's not possible, it's too good to be true.
Or that classic, I could never do that.
It can really sabotage you before you even get started.
Kiyosaki talks about the difference between critics and analysts.
Ah, yes.
Critics only see the downsides, why something won't work.
And analysts, they look for opportunity.
Even in tough situations, they weigh the pros and cons, but they're open to possibilities.
He gives the example of real estate investing. Some people will completely write it off just because they're focused on the negatives.
I don't want to deal with tenants.
The market is too risky.
But those are just excuses masking their fear.
And their cynicism.
It's all about shifting your perspective, right?
Absolutely. See the solutions, not just the problems. See the possibilities, not the limitations.
Then there's laziness. And not just the I don't want to get off the couch kind of laziness.
He's talking about mental laziness.
The lack of willingness to really dig in and learn.
Not putting in the effort to build your financial knowledge.
It's easy to just coast along doing what you've always done.
But that's not how you grow.
So Kiyosaki challenges you to become an active learner.
Read books, attend seminars, network, keep up with the latest trends.
Treat your financial education like an investment. Speaking of investments, let's talk bad habits. Specifically, that habit of paying yourself last.
Ugh, so many people do this.
You pay all your bills first. Rent, mortgage, car payment, credit cards. And if there's anything left over, then you think about saving or investing.
Which, usually there's not much left.
Right. And Kiyosaki's advice is flip that script.
Pay yourself first.
Even if it's just a small amount, make it a non-negotiable part of your budget.
Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to a savings or investment account.
He even suggests using those unpaid bills as motivation to figure out how to make more money.
It's a little radical.
But it shows you how much he believes in resourcefulness and problem solving.
All right. And lastly, we got arrogance. Gotta watch out for this one.
We've all been there. Maybe you have a little success and suddenly you think you know it all.
Kiyosaki warns that arrogance often masks ignorance.
It's when you stop learning, stop being open to new ideas.
And that's when you become vulnerable.
So stay humble. Know that you always have more to learn, and surround yourself with people who can keep you grounded.
Absolutely. People who will challenge you and help you grow.
Okay, so we've covered these 5 obstacles in depth.
Now what? How do we actually put Kiyosaki's advice into practice?
Well, that's where those 10 steps to wealth come in.
Yes, the roadmap.
And step 1 is stop doing what you're doing.
It's about taking a step back, looking at your situation, and being willing to change.
Break free from that rat race, that cycle of working for money just to spend it.
Step 2 is to figure out why you want to be rich.
What's driving you?
What are you working towards?
And don't just think about it. Write it down.
Make it real.
Step 3, choose your heroes carefully. Find those mentors and role models who have already achieved what you want to achieve.
Surround yourself with people who inspire you.
People you can learn from.
Step 4, find a system that works for you. Master a formula and then learn a new one.
Real estate, business, stocks, whatever fits. But then keep learning, keep evolving.
The world of finance doesn't stand still.
Step 5 is the foundation. Pay yourself first. Make it a non-negotiable. Set up those automatic transfers.
Treat yourself like your most important creditor.
Step 6 might sound a little odd at first. Pay your brokers well. Kiyosaki's a big believer in investing in expert advice.
It's about finding those partners who can guide you and help you make smarter decisions.
Step 7, be an Indian giver. Again, this is not about being dishonest.
It's about understanding how to get a return on your investment quickly.
Minimize your risk, maximize your profits. Know when to walk away from a deal.
Be strategic.
Step 8, use assets to buy luxuries.
Build your wealth first, then enjoy the finer things.
Step 9 is all about history. Learn from those who came before you. What worked, what didn't, What lessons can you apply?
Don't reinvent the wheel.
And finally, step 10, take action. Nothing happens without action.
Even those small steps, taken consistently, can lead to big things.
Be brave, learn from mistakes, and keep moving forward. Kiyosaki reminds us that most people are more afraid of losing than they are excited about winning.
But you can't let that fear hold you back.
So think bigger, be bold, and build that support network.
Mentors, advisors, partners. Find your people.
He talks about mastering your emotions, not letting fear and greed call the shots.
Develop that mental toughness, the ability to make clear decisions, even under pressure.
And remember, he says, money is just an idea.
So change your thinking.
Build that financial intelligence.
Yeah.
Make money work for you, not the other way around. And he gets into the different types of income.
Earned income, portfolio income, and passive income.
And that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
Building those income streams that work for you even when you're not working.
Exactly. He even questions job security. Relying on a single paycheck can be risky.
Especially these days.
Create multiple streams of income. Build that asset column. You create your own security.
Take control of your destiny.
So there you have it. A deeper dive into Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Obstacles, wealth building, different types of income.
And remember, this is just a starting point.
We're just scratching the surface here.
If you're intrigued, check out the full book.
Tons to explore.
What really resonated with you?
Anything you disagree with.
We want to hear your thoughts.
Head over to our social media, keep the conversation going. And here's a question to ponder. Kiyosaki argues that traditional education doesn't really teach financial skills. What if there was a different way?
One that focused on building wealth and achieving true financial freedom.
That's something to think about. You know, it's interesting how Kiyosaki kind of challenges that whole idea of a good job. Like, he even questions whether job security really exists anymore.
Especially in today's world, things change so fast.
Exactly. He encourages us to, well, think more like entrepreneurs, even if we're working for someone else right now.
Yeah, develop that mindset of independence.
And create multiple streams of income, not just rely on that single paycheck.
Exactly.
So again, he's not saying there's anything wrong with traditional jobs.
It's about having more options.
Creating a more secure future for yourself.
Right. And that's where understanding the different types of income comes in.
He breaks it down into those 3 categories, right?
Yep. Earned income, portfolio income, and passive income.
Right. So earned income is the most familiar, I guess.
It's what most people think of as work.
Trading your time for money, the classic 9 to 5.
Exactly.
Then there's portfolio income, which comes from investments.
Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, that kind of thing.
So that's money working for you, even when you're not actively working.
Generating those returns.
And then the holy grail, I guess you could say, is passive income.
The dream.
Money that just flows in regularly without you needing to, break your back for it.
Yeah, minimal effort. Think rental income from properties, royalties from books or music.
Or those online businesses that can basically run on autopilot.
That's the idea.
And Kiyosaki really pushes this idea of building those passive income streams because it gives you a sense of security and freedom that's hard to get from just your job.
It's about creating that system where your money's working for you even while you sleep.
You can pursue your passions, spend more time with family, just enjoy life without worrying about that next paycheck.
And be creative in finding those opportunities. Think outside the box.
Step out of that comfort zone.
Embrace your inner entrepreneur. Kiyosaki offers a lot of ideas, but it's up to each person to find what works for them.
And then, of course, take action.
Because knowledge without action is useless.
He also says you got to have that strong why, that reason that really drives you. What's your financial dream? What do you want to achieve?
Yeah, what's the big picture? Having that vision can really keep you motivated.
He also talks about the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people. Mentors, advisors, partners, people who can support you on this journey.
You need that team. You don't have to do it alone.
And you got to be a lifelong learner, right?
Yeah.
The world of finance is constantly evolving.
Stay curious. Be adaptable. Always refining your strategies.
Because financial education is power. It's how you make those smart decisions.
Yeah.
Build that secure future.
Well, there you have it. Our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
We've covered a lot.
Challenged some conventional wisdom, explored passive income.
Talked about the importance of an entrepreneurial mindset.
But remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
If you're ready to dive deeper, check out the full book.
There's so much more to uncover.
And as always, we want to hear your thoughts. What really resonated with you? What are your biggest takeaways?
Head over to our social media and join the conversation.
And here's a final thought to leave you with. If money is just an idea, like Kiyosaki says, then what's stopping you from changing your thinking and creating the financial future you want?
That's it for our deep dive on Rich Dad Poor Dad. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to reach those financial goals.